daddy was a ragtime trombone player. My mammy was a ragtime cabaret. Then that one day out of tango kid, there was a single little wind.
Descent into darkness. A Call of Cthulhu campaign.
Hello and welcome back to Deathwatch's Call of Cthulhu campaign, The Lost City of Pillars. Descent into Darkness, Season 4, Episode 21. I am Keeper Travis, and we return now to the Caravan of Death, the long march to Irem. Before we get to it, let's get an introduction from our investigators.
I'm Brandon. I'll be playing Bartholomew Wentworth, and I have no memory of what happened last. But I'm hoping, I'm hoping we don't get ambushed in this dead town.
Yeah. I'm Chris. I'm playing Charles Stanton, and I did what had to be done. When I killed Dr. Sala, I have no regrets.
For now.
And I'm John playing Joseph Thompson, and I misheard the name of the campaign, so now this will forever be The Lost City of Billers, and we are all bill collectors.
Trying to collect from each other in the middle of a desert.
We've traveled
The
all this
factions
way.
begin to form.
So it's Monday,
and
March
we've only
21st.
collected $5.
Early in the morning, preparing to set out from an abandoned village where the well had been poisoned, likely by whoever marched off all the inhabitants. And we'll begin with Mr. Thompson. Actually, let me clarify one thing. I thought that the whole party were immune to killing and gross injury type stuff, but it doesn't appear that you are, Stanton. Because you don't, at least looking at your character sheet, you didn't take the war experience package, or maybe we failed to update it long ago.
I didn't make Stanton.
Oh, you didn't?
You did.
I don't remember making him.
I made Johann. That's the only Call of Cthulhu character I've ever made.
Okay. Well, in this case, it does not appear that he has it. So there is a butcher's bill to be paid at some point, but we'll wait for an opportune moment to weave it into the story. Of course, like anything, you get used to it over the course, so it takes a toll early on. Your humanity takes a hit, but once you lose the maximum 6, you're free to kill without cost until the next season. So anyhow, beginning with Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, after waking, and you've gained a couple hit points over the last few days of travel, you're out of the major wound stage, and you're gaining 1 a day, basically. After waking, you go to the edge of camp to make your morning water and stare out at the northern horizon where great sand dunes are the borrowed colors of sunrise. Your attention is split between those vast, inhospitable vistas and directing your stream. You notice that the pale straw yellow color of your urine sparkles in the morning light and steams as it hits the desert floor. As it is the first call of the day, it is a particularly aromatic brew. You have heard that some folk drink their urine in survival situations to stay alive for a few days or hours longer, and you wonder what the taste may be like. With a start, you realize you are salivating at its fine color. So, there are 2 competing thoughts that come into your mind, and one is the divine hunger as described by Ibon in the dreaded tome Liber Ivanus. Is this the effects of Sithagua's blessing by way of a new thirst? Or, rationally, while you have plenty of water still, one must make a conscious effort to drink water in order to replace what the body expels during the exertion and heat of the day. You thought you noticed that you could smell the well water in this town when you guys arrived, but many yards before you approached it. Surely it's just that same mechanism of survival has driven your thirst drive to a new, untold height, so that you might idly wonder what the taste of urine is. Surely. Anyhow, there you are.
Do I regain 1 hit point now?
No, I already added the 2
okay.
for the day's travel. He's like,
Well,
this
it's-
doesn't concern me. How am I feeling?
Well, I
Oh,
mean,
Wondering what
I'd
one's urine
thought if
tastes
I
like is a
needed to.
daily occurrence.
but
It seemed that since we're in a survival situation, somebody should want to drink their urine.
hey guys, I mean, if you're not willing to, I'm up to for the challenge. I'm up to the challenge of drinking that golden stream.
Well, with one glance at the dark patch on the sand already fading to nothing, you can head back to the encampment. Are you going to get into a routine of like armoring up in the morning or after sunset, perhaps?
Yeah, I'll do after sunset. What is the magic regain?
1 magic point per hour.
Okay, so if I do it at night, then I should be able to regain by the morning, depending on when sunset is. What time is sunset?
It's around 8 o'clock this time of year, a little before, with full
So
dark.
by 6, I can
being
gain
by
10
9.
back.
Yeah. So you want to do that amount?
I will do 12, because then by 8 a.m. I should be back up to full if I only use that. But I do want to start including Mr. Wentworth into this protection if he'll allow it.
Okay, so this is a scene a few hours previous, just as you guys were about to bed down, where he's offering you this protection, the self-same you saw in the tent with Ibrahim after he had been, or before Stanton got there, where he started chanting.
What exactly does this, what protection does this provide? Is this some religious thing?
Well, you could call it religious if you want, but it's supposed to protect against harm. We don't know what's going to happen out here with the finding of the reptiles amongst us. It would be best to be prepared, as whether it's a stray bullet or a knife in the night.
I guess it couldn't hurt. What do I have to do? I don't have to drink any blood or anything.
No, just it'll take me about a minute, you said, right?
Yeah, it's, what was it, 5 rounds or 4 rounds?
5 rounds.
Yeah, they don't give a specific time for the round. It just fits the needs of the scene.
On the
So,
description,
but yeah,
it says about a minute.
about a minute, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it just takes about a minute, just like I was doing in the tent. It's just a chant, and then you'll be protected.
Okay.
So I'll split it 6 and 6. Then
So-
Travis.
Yeah, go ahead and roll 66 for each of you, and then 2 separate rolls of 1d4 sand loss.
Okay, this will be for Mr. Wentworth,
Ooh,
and this one is mine.
well done. A
Thank
small
you.
price to pay.
Pretty minimal sand loss for today, at least.
Dude, I don't think it much matters. You cast, it's a lot of sand loss over the course of a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I'll do it as an everyday, but right after the incident,
Yeah, it's a
I'll
particularly
probably
tense
take
time.
some extra precautions here.
Okay.
And then, if I remember right, that just works like the temporary hit points,
Right. yeah.
Brandon. So you'll take those away first if you get hurt,
Oh, nice. Oh,
as he immediately goes and jumps off the first sand dune or cliff. Let's see how this
Let's
works.
see how this
Dude,
works.
you could jump from a pretty good height right there if
Yeah.
that's working like temporary hit point. Even if it was just like armor, like that just stopped damage.
Yeah.
You're looking at a good old height.
Okay, so back to the morning. Arbogast wakes you, or you guys wake about the same time, and he has tea or coffee ready, your preference,
Coffee.
which he has some barely concealed
I'm an American, for crying out loud.
disapproval about, but he prepares it all the same. But he says, "Good morning, Mr. Wentworth.
Good morning.
I thought I might mention that I provide a service." Sorry, the phrasing on this struck me as funny just now. "I provide a service to Lady Waverly, should she request it, and I'll extend that to you now. And that is that sometimes it's easier to remove a person from the equation than to deal with them diplomatically, sir." I am discreet. No crown sits so sure that a knife in the dark may not topple it.
I'm quite surprised to hear that, Arbogast.
Well-
As it happens, that's literally what I do. That's a service I provide for Dr. Andrews.
Ah,
So it seems that we have that in common.
so I'm like farther down on the chain than the good doctor. So will you be needing that service?
Oh, who are we thinking about removing?
I didn't
Just
say anything.
anybody?
He's game for anything.
Not yet.
My goal is to get you back to the Lady Waverly, sir, so
Right.
if there's somebody you can see that's going to stop that from happening. But that is to the good, sir. You can never kill enough people to make things perfect.
Disagree.
Right you are. Best not to get started.
Thank you, Arbogast. Strange fellow.
And he grimaces at his coffee there.
Uh,
So from there, the camp begins to be broken down, and the congregation forms around Mr. Stanton's maps and implements of navigation. So we can start there with the navigate roll.
first, I must bring up my character sheet.
And you have penalty on it, so you won't have your bonus die today.
All right. Skills. Navigate. Hard success.
Well done.
Wait a minute. I'm automatically set to hard. You must have been doing some.
Yeah, I was messing around with you and the other PCs.
So, wait a sec. No. Okay.
Okay, so you know that you can make about 30 miles on your hard success today, but since you didn't get water at the town and you're only a short way from the next one that you'll arrive like way less than 30 miles. It was only 5 miles away when you guys paused your march yesterday.
So we could use some of the excess for scrounging?
Yeah, possibly if things don't look good in the town. Now, you guys had mentioned you had sent off the forward scouts
Mm-hmm.
the last time we played to prepare the town for your arrival. And Wentworth had also sent off the Bandars to act as a rear scout because you were concerned about somebody following you, namely the Bedouin group that you had interacted with days previous. So that's what the scout situation looks like again. Were you going on ahead
Yeah.
with the ones?
Yeah. But I meant to ask, when Thompson does his chanting, do I get any sensation from that at all?
No,
Okay.
not really.
So this is like a blessing from a priest or
Right, yeah.
whatever. Okay.
So you won't know that it's working until it's too late.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Wentworth, let's see what this town looks like by a group luck roll from probably Mr. Thompson.
This is all your fault, Thompson. You can't prove anything. Oh, it's at 3?
Oh,
We thought you were
no,
7.
it is.
Oh, it's hard.
That's hard
Okay.
for some reason, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, no, I was testing out some stuff
Oh,
in
okay.
between. So I think you guys might have your settings wonky. Sorry, I always forget to change them back. But did you want to push your luck roll?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, so for
Unless
the advance...
the rest of the group wants me to, but I don't think that's the best idea.
Yeah, you see me get real gun shy on always push. Sometimes you just accept what fate
Right.
fate gives you, because it could have been worse.
Okay, so Mr. Wentworth, you and this advance group to prepare the town. When you arrive at its outskirts and you're, looking through your telescope, you can see that this one appears to be in a similar state as the previous town. So Zamok, there doesn't appear to be anybody here, and there's one dead camel that you can spot, but many more like dead goats and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. It looks like we've run into the same issue here. Send a message back to Stanton.
Okay. So yeah, that's around 3 hours of travel. You'd probably arrive there. So sometime in the middle of that 3-hour stretch is when one of your men comes back with the message from Mr. Wentworth about the state of the town up ahead.
Almost time to put an open season on Bedouins. All right.
So yeah, looking it over, you can again pick about the same amount of food that you did in the last one. So another extra 10 pounds of what was left over from spilled sacks and whatnot, if you are so inclined to scrape it up off the floor, gather it up again. And again, peering into the well that is here, you can see they've done the same thing whoever this group is, as they did in the last village.
Yeah, we're going to have to risk it this time, though, right?
You will have to find water for the camels today. Pushing them tomorrow you'll start losing camels likely. But mostly in a way where they refuse to work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So was it my navigation roll allowed me to have excess?
So you used 5, you have 25 miles. You could, if you wish, journey out and see if you can find water, perhaps.
Yeah, we're going to have to try to do that. And in the before we start heading out to do that, I'll give orders, first off, make camp, to secure camp, and then start boiling as much of that well water as we can.
Okay.
So at the very least, we can take care of a good chunk of the camels. I unfortunately don't think Stanton knows anything about animal care. Would that water be vile enough for them to get sick from, or?
It's a possibility, but they have much different stomachs than humans, obviously. So the herdsmen say it should be all right.
All right.
You could water the camels here if you wish.
Yeah, then we'll have them do that.
Yeah.
I think we took unpotable water with us from the last one that we could hopefully purify.
Yeah.
You could start the process of boiling that.
Yeah, might as well.
Okay. You begin to water the camels there, and usually if they don't want to drink, a camel won't, like if the water's too brackish or something, but they can be compelled to. But even in this case, the water that you draw seems to be clean enough for their purposes. So they, hungrily begin to slurp it up, and you guys have a few troughs in the village you can use for that. So you line them up and get the camels in an orderly line and start watering a few at a time, maybe like 10 at a time. That'll fit troughs. And the ones behind, since it's been a few days since they've watered last, they get impatient and excited and get like camel zoomies basically as they're waiting to be led up to the trough. They got excited when you came into both these towns and they smelled the well water. But you're going to send out scouts to see if you can find a sweeter well.
Yeah.
Or food, perhaps.
Yeah, sweeter well or food, because we're about to hit the big stretch, aren't we?
Not the big one, but a pretty lengthy one. Your next stretch from this town to the next is a little over 100 miles.
Yeah.
So we can begin with the first bit of searching needs to pass an extreme survival desert roll. So whoever is leading that and directing the overall search for it can make that. And Stanton, if it's you, then you have a bonus die by way of some of your more skilled Stanton men, right?
But then I also have a penalty today too, right?
Yeah.
Exhaustion.
So does Wentworth as well.
I think.
Well, Wentworth would be afforded a penalty too by you leveraging your men and their expertise if he is to go out and do that.
Bonus, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
So just break even.
Right.
Wentworth might have the better desert survival skill.
Yeah, mine's 83.
Yeah. I'll pitch the idea to Wentworth that we have about 100 miles between here and the next town. This polluted well is good enough for the camels, but not us.
Right.
And we need a bit of food as well. So I was thinking about sending out a scavenging party.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll lead a scavenging party.
While you're out doing that, I'll secure this camp as well as I can.
Okay.
Good luck, Mr. Wentworth.
I'll see what I can find.
Okay, so basically you get 3 of these survival desert rolls at the first at the extreme, the second at the hard, and then the last at regular. And if you can't find anything in those 3 hours of searching, then nothing will be found today, basically. It's sort of generating what will be there based on the knowledge and the skill of the investigator. So we can start with that first one at the extreme level.
Success.
Got it. So actually roll a d20 for me.
1.
Oh, man.
No, that's good.
Yeah. To the south
like a
of
super
this village,
critical success.
you find what looks like a trail that a lot of camels have come from. And you see there's a mosque there, and like a rudimentary one. It's not manned by anybody. It's just there for people to stop and make their prayers. But they have a well there at the mosque that doesn't seem to have been spiked like this one. So,
and how far away is that from the camp?
It's a mile to the south. You guys didn't pass. We were traveling from west to east.
Yeah.
So yeah, you pretty much take care of the water problem there fairly quickly. And it so you can stop the boiling process basically
Yeah, it's
before
save
you
on
get
fuel.
there.
And clean
Yeah.
out the
Yeah, clean out those ones and then
Yeah, so I'll send someone to run back as quick as possible to let Stanton know,
Okay.
so they can save fuel and stop that boiling.
now as far as food goes, you aren't as bad off.
1248 and 1240 respectively for food and water.
Yeah, food you use about 70.5 pounds a day, so you're sitting a lot better there. So the most obvious thing you see you can eat is you're constantly, like these hedgehogs are constantly scurrying away from you. So there's like these rodents that you could trap and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really like a camp solution, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a very quick one. If you want to find a bigger game, you can come in again at the extreme level.
Oh, extreme.
If you were curious about finding like an ibex or something.
Yeah, right. I mean, if we've found water that quick, then there's no reason not to keep looking around and see what else.
Okay.
Failure. I was hoping there'd be elephants out here.
Yeah. So you could keep at it with a hard.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's still light out, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what else we can find. Can I spend 7 luck?
If you want to.
Yeah, to succeed there. I'll
Yeah.
spend 7 luck.
So you see some marks of an animal's passage by the prints in there. You would expect it's an antelope of some kind.
Mhm.
You could follow it
Okay.
if you wish. Give me a luck roll.
Hard success.
So yeah, the droppings you come across indicate that it's a recent passage, and you crest a dune looking into over a salt flat with a bunch of brush there, and you see a few of them. We'll say really small herd, just 5, like out there cropping at these salt brush, and there's like a pool of the last, like really brackish looking pool of water
Yeah.
that they're by.
Okay.
Your current shot, you have a scope on your 30-06, right?
Yeah.
Effectively doubles the difficulty ranges. So you're, instead of 110 yards for your normal, it's 220. And then,
Yeah.
I think up to 800 and some odd yards at the extreme. At this range with your scope, it would be, we'll say they're like 300 yards away.
Okay.
So I think that'd be a hard shot if you want to take it here, or you try to stalk to a better location.
Yeah, not really a long range. Yeah, let's see if we can get closer.
All right, let's do a stealth roll. Yeah, something spooks them.
Okay.
And once one, starts moving, they all start moving. Of course, you can take the shot. It would be a little bit more difficult.
All right, might as well.
Yeah. So we'll stick at the hard. This is just, you got close, spooked them, and now they're just moving, and they're not, like the best angles for you to shoot at. So.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you,
Not working well.
are you out here, Thompson, with them looking for this stuff? Because I know you're
I would imagine
also
I
a desert
was.
survival. Okay. Well, we'll have you paired up here with Wentworth, and you can also take a shot as well
Take
Buzz.
the shot.
at the hard level.
We're
Shoot.
with that.
we're sneaking first.
Well, I already gave it away.
Yeah, you already gave it away.
So now it's just a hard, long-range shot.
Nope.
Nope. Well, it was hard shots. They got away.
Well, we found the water.
Yeah, that's the important part. All right, let me set these up again.
We'll try again tomorrow.
Okay, you guys are fully stocked on water again.
Is there any could we look for, I guess I'd probably be taken care of in the luck, so never mind.
What were you hoping to look for?
More water storage.
Oh, right, in the village? Yeah, it doesn't appear picking it over that you find anything like that. I mean, you can find smaller amounts. You could add a few, more liters by people carrying, say, more personal sized skins, but nothing to really carry enough water if you had to feed your camels from it or something like that. So that would say that would be more of a personal choice of the individual investigator here.
All right.
All right, so staying in the village, collecting all your water, you have it well defended, better than you do a lot of times when you're just in the middle of the desert, because they have like fences and structures here that you can use to your advantage. You guys get set up for the night and you have your dinner. Is there anything in particular you wanted to do before you turn in?
No, but we were planning to stay here a little bit to let people rest, right?
If it was good, yeah. We still, I mean, how's the Southern Wells water holding out?
It was good.
Was it? We didn't drain it?
No,
Okay.
they produce like these types of
Seeps.
wells. They you can get like hundreds of gallons an hour, basically.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'd probably be spending a day to get rid of the fatigues.
Yeah.
An extra day here, so
Yeah.
through the 22nd. Okay, so plan to be more entrenched. Let me mark that on here.
Yeah, and I'll do another hunting party in the morning.
Okay. Well, that night you hear the howl of a wolf. You know, once the sun goes down, and you guys are doing what leisure activities you are up to at night.
Yeah.
You hear, you know, that the baying of a wolf in the distance, and Mr. Stanton had researched the flora and fauna in this area, so he knows they had an Arabian wolf, which is like a smaller cousin to the ones we have here in North America, or that were in Europe at the time. But they are obviously attracted to the smells of this village, and if you can see them at the edge of the camp, sort of circling it. You can make a spot hidden for me. Pretty much anybody can.
Success. As I also redid our armor. Might be the last night that I do it for us, though, as a standard.
At penalty, right? Spot's one of them, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
All right. So, yeah, you guys see these wolves, for those that succeeded at their roles, Stanton and Thompson. So they're pretty low to the ground. They're only like 2-ish feet at the shoulder from what you can make out at the silhouettes there. So pretty small wolves. And there are 4 of them, as near as you can tell. But given where you're located, they're unwilling because they're cowardly. They're looking for an easy snatch, and everything's pretty much locked down. So as long as nobody goes wandering in the dark, it shouldn't be an issue outside of the village, which, you know, you're able to use their walls and gates to keep the goats and stuff in. So they don't bother you. Let's see. But while you're sleeping, Mr. Wentworth, if you can give me an extreme spot hidden or listen check.
Fail.
Okay.
Uh-oh, I just propelled myself into the future. Extra 0 on 1922.
Since you rested here most of the day, the only person who has to do a constitution roll are Mr. Wentworth and Mr. Thompson for being out hunting and doing that sort of thing.
Constitution?
Yeah.
Like just regular or
Yep, just at the regular.
hard success?
And one from Mr. Thompson. Oh, wait, Brandon, you mentioned that you took Sala's telescope, right?
Yeah.
Are you still going to go out there at night and gaze at the stars?
That's probably why I didn't see the wolves. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you're looking through that. So yeah, this is how we'll fold in what should have occurred when you murder somebody, right? Because you're not a psychopath, you're a hard man, so there's still a bit of humanity in you, Mr. Stanton. Is you see Wentworth up, you know, on a raised part within the village, like maybe you clamber onto one of these low structures.
Yeah.
And so there's that silhouette of a man looking up through a telescope up at the stars that reminds you of the recently departed Dr. Sala. You can take it whichever way you want it. In my mind, it would be like probably Stanton has a sophisticated logic that protects him from the decisions he makes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, it's the result that matters. But like so many things that we are as humans, what we say isn't always actually what happens.
Yeah.
So it still creeps in a little bit, that humanity. You're like,
Well, why did Dr. Sala force my hand in
Right.
such a fashion?
so there's this coming over you a little bit. So go ahead and give me a sand roll for him.
Normal or penalized?
Just at the normal level. Your characteristics aren't penalized for
Ooh,
exhaustion.
fail.
Failure. So
Ouch.
4-point hit. So it's unfortunate when men of an ideology or gentlemen find themselves caught in these situations, you know. That's what kind of bothers you about it, is you can do it's a moment while you're seeing that silhouette where you are doing some hindsight sort of thing where you're realizing there are different ways it could have gone. However, that doesn't stop you from being certain in your decision. I want to make that distinction because that strikes me as Stanton isn't a whinger. This is basically the burial process in his mind for Sala, you know.
A send-off.
Yeah, send
Fond
off.
farewell.
Yeah, so you allow yourself that moment of however grief manifests for a man such as Stanton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that fit with the character you have in mind there?
Oh, yeah. No, I think I was picking up what you were putting down right from the start. Like,
Yeah.
he probably would try to not show any sort of outward emotion, but at the end of the day, it's, you know, like, I did what I had to do. Why'd you force my hand in such a way? All you had to do was just
Say the damn words.
say the damn words, Sala.
Okay, so with that out of the way.
And, you know, like, that would still have the correct outcome on sand loss too, right?
Yeah.
You can still blame someone else, and at the same time, deep down, you know you're the one that pulled the trigger.
Yeah, and I think the idea is that if you do that enough and you have a break, it's because, you know, they have that saying that if you meet one asshole, you've met an asshole, but if you meet 10 assholes in a day, you're probably the asshole, right? So once you kill enough people, you'll be like, wait, maybe I'm the bad guy. Assuming it's in, you know, situations like that. So one sec here, let me mark off food if it won't freeze us up today. Do we ever get that Constitution roll from Mr. Thompson?
No, he thinks he doesn't have to do anything he doesn't want to do.
Insubordinate. What?
Get you killed around here, Mr. Thompson.
I don't think he cares. I think he died a long time ago.
All right, so in the morning, starts off early for the likes of Mr. Stanton and Mr. Wentworth and Mr. Thompson. All these men have military or military-like training or modes of discipline that they don't allow themselves to just have a lazy Tuesday morning, March 22nd. But the day dawns bright and apparently hot. And there's only a moment of that morning peace before an alarm is raised in the camp by way of one of your men, the guy he had been bedding up with, had been killed in the night.
What? That's one of
one of Stanton's men. It's one of the unnamed sods.
Oh, okay.
Not the one you had recently promoted to your second, though.
No, thank God.
So we'll say it was like your motivator who's coming out. So this is, I think we had mentioned, like an Australian fella. So he's cussing up a storm when he comes out of the tent. And he has in his hands one of those jambalaya knives with the blood still on the blade. And he looks scared because it happened right next to him, basically.
Right.
And I suppose, Stanton, you're likely the first person and closest to notice this hubbub that's going on.
Yeah, I'll go up to the man, ask him to show me the what he's going on about. What you whinging on about, boy?
So yeah, with the other man, the one that's now dead, you can see by a slit throat or what have you, was your photographer, but also soldier.
Okay.
And he just stares at the top of the tent with sightless, dead eyes, clouded now.
And I'll take that knife from the guy.
Okay.
And you found this with it? With the body?
Yeah, it was just laying right here.
All right.
On the ground.
Well, before this becomes a problem, let's see if we can get one of our trackers in here. See if we can see anyone from the outside coming in.
All right.
So yeah, I'll call for one of my trackers to see if they can discern any noticeable trails in and out from this tent.
Well, the problem, Mr. Stanton, is the whole area is a mess. You got all the tracks this way and that from setting these tents up and all the activity we had in the village, plus what's left over from when people were here. I can't make heads or tails of any of the foot trace that's in here.
Understandable.
But maybe from outside the camp to in? Did any of the scouts see any of the watch see anything last night?
Well, I figured they would probably have started shooting if they had.
Yeah.
But we'll have to go check with them anyway. Take your perimeter. See if you can find anything that's not us coming in here. If you can, report to me. Don't stray far. They're probably still around. And I'll go check in with the remainder of my scouts.
Yeah, everybody else seems to be hale and whole, but you see a hardness come into their faces once they hear the news, if you share it, right? And accusatory glances, pretty much at anybody else that isn't a member of Stanton Expeditions. So that's what you guys who aren't really in that part of the camp are seeing at the moment.
Yeah.
You're just seeing it from a distance, basically.
I'll go over to Stanton and see what's going on.
Well, apparently one of those little rascal Bedouins snuck into the camp, and I'll hold out the knife. I'll be kind of like tossing it in my hand. Snuck in and killed one of my men. Left this. You still got yours, correct?
You
Yeah.
still do.
Okay.
It's right here. Yeah.
Just checking.
And we're sure it was someone from outside the camp?
Well, unless they've been secreting these around.
Well, the Yemeni have them. They're a stature
Yeah, they're
thing.
pretty common.
A lot of them are worn.
All right. I do kind of worry about killing more men so close to each other, but I say we go check their knives.
Right, yeah, let me see the knife and see if there's any distinguishing, because they had designs on them, right?
Yes.
So see if it's something I
Usually it had
recognize.
something to do with their station.
Right.
In some cases, they even have a name. This one has a name on it. It's Ahmed.
Ahmed.
Yeah.
Well,
Whether that narrows it
not
down
all that
or
helpful. Might as well have a name John or something. Yeah, that narrows it down. We know right who it was. I guess maybe I'll try my hand at the body.
Take a look at it.
Yeah, do some tracking and see if I can figure out.
Yeah, so give me an extreme.
Oh, man, almost.
As I described, or as Stanton's man described to him, it's you guys have been here all day walking back and forth and all the shuffling around to set this tent up and the men coming in and out, you know. And while it leaves good impressions of people passing, it's not like a wet bit of clay where you can pick out the tread from somebody's shoe or what have you.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, we got to go talk to the Yemeni and see, you know, whose knife is this? Anybody recognize it?
Okay.
Is there anybody named Ahmed?
I'll follow him and then I'll just be watching the reactions as maybe be able to use, psychology to identify if there's a reaction.
Yeah, Stanton, did this fellow that was killed have any disagreements with anybody recently? I feel like I've never even seen him before.
What was his name again? He doesn't have one.
Probably. Most of my men are full of piss and vinegar. So arguments amongst them are commonplace, but we have rules.
Yeah, that's not the way to solve a disagreement.
Well, on your guys' way to the Yemeni, are you leaving this in Mr. Wentworth's hands, Stanton, or you going along with him
I think I'll tag along.
to make your own judge of it?
Yeah.
Well, you're accosted by those that are more on your side of the camp, so, you know, they're asking, like, well, what's going on? You know, because they've only heard the exclamations from over there. Namely, you know, Mr. Whiteman sees who's in your group, and he's just like, goes back to his morning. You know?
I'd like to see your knife, Mr. Whiteman.
I don't carry a knife, sir.
Unfortunate. I'll shoot him.
No, you must have knives if you want to be part. But in this case, it's more like
you can't play cards with us if you don't have your keys.
in this case, it's more Curtis Cooper, who's looking much better in recent days from his bout with pneumonia.
Now the witch has let her grip go.
Yeah, and he's up and he's more inquisitive. And he's like, what's going on over there?
Well, we have a murder. Somebody snuck into one of the tents in the night, assuming it wasn't his tent mate, but someone snuck in and slit a poor man's throat and left this knife there as evidence of their deed, which is strange. Generally, I don't like to leave behind things that can be tied to me when I murder people, but at any rate, we have a murder. We need to figure out what's going on.
Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that Stanton does think that a bunch of crazy militant Bedouin out in the middle of the desert would do stuff like this.
Right.
Just sneak in and slit someone's throat.
Yeah.
Because he's probably encountered other tribes that would do stuff like this as well.
Yeah.
But just in case, I gotta go check the Yemeni.
Yeah, so then I'll get them gathered, Hadi and Jodi.
Yeah.
So get them in together and show them the knife. You recognize this? Anybody know whose this is?
They're, you know, like looking at each other, like shrugging.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see them.
Some of them have those knives and some don't.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a good percentage that just don't have, that carry a knife
That
like
just
that.
wouldn't carry
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But you can fire off psychologies
Yeah, I guess that's our
at
best
the
option.
hard level as you're kind of asking, does this knife belong to anybody? And is anybody named Ahmed? And you see like 4 hands go up.
Yeah.
It was succeeded.
Good old Bartholomew.
An extreme success. My 15 psychology. That's my best skill this whole campaign. Literally, that's the best skill.
Well, a lot of the Yemeni look guilty, but in the way that somebody does when
whip
any
dog.
accusation is put out there, you know, and so you don't see any like real apparent or real guilt there though. But for both Mr. Thompson and Mr. Wentworth, amongst the people looking on at the Yemeni, standing at your shoulder, you do see Arbogast there.
I knew it.
Watching everything with apparent interest.
I knew it. I knew it.
Like, not like, oh, this is a fascinating turn of events, but more with an eye towards the outcome.
I'll turn to Wentworth and I'll ask these two, Hadi and Jadi, or whatever the names are, if the Bedouin are known for doing this type of tactic as an intimidation or scare tactic.
Yeah, I'll ask them that.
And if they know any ways in which to begin taking precautions or preventative measures against that particular tactic, if they do.
Yeah, I'll ask that question to them. Is it something that these tribes have been known to do?
Hadi says they only hear about night raids, or, they'll just line up come over a dune and start shooting into a caravan is usually the two methods they hear about.
Right.
They haven't really,
Not
unless it was some sort of personal vendetta, because they sort of explained to you that the idea of these blood feuds, it bleeds out of the Bedouin population into anybody this is outside of their language use, but just explain it to you. Anybody who's trying to appear masculine would adopt the idea of, if you dishonor me, then I'll, then you're going to pay for it. So it's possible that it could be something like that. Somebody that has felt like they've taken a personal slight.
Right.
But they were with you when you were with the Bedouin the other day.
Yeah.
And they didn't see anything that had occurred.
Right. I
It's
feel
possible some of the treatment in this camp the Yemeni have received has caused some of them to view that, but they hadn't heard any complaints in that way.
Yeah.
Most of it was complaints of deserting or fleeing.
I feel like the disagreements are usually a little more of a spectacle. They're not secret.
open.
When our two groups don't get along, right?
Prove a test of honor and manhood. I agree. So, now the question remains, did a snake slip through our fingers? This doesn't quite seem like something they do either.
Yeah, I'm struggling to find the sense in it. If it was done for anything beyond pure joy of what they were trying to accomplish, whoever did this.
As much as I hate to admit it, I don't think it would be Mr. Whiteman. I think he would have someone else do it, or just shoot him.
Yeah.
He doesn't quite seem the type.
At that point, the scouts you'd sent out outside the camp come back, and they do find where they think that the villagers here had been marched off by a group. And they also said at the northeastern dune out there's like a really big one northeast of the village. There's a lot of traffic up there at the top of the dune. It's a good overlook into the village itself. Mm-hmm. But they didn't find like an identifiable solitary trace from outside of the village into it.
Right.
That wasn't accounted for by all the normal traffic, Say like sneaking, weaving past the guards or whatnot.
Yeah.
But they do say somebody was looking at it.
Probably.
From that hill?
Yeah.
From the dune?
But they didn't seem to come in.
No.
That makes sense. Our presence have been known here since we entered this section of the desert. So far, they haven't attacked us, but it's only a matter of time. But like Hadi and Jadi over here said, they'd be open about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they'll mention that news travels fast in the desert. As you well know, one of the first things they ask when you meet somebody is like, what's the news from where you're from? So they say it is possible that the Bani Yam group that you met days previously allowed you to pass or thought it was too hard of a morsel to take a bite of. But that didn't stop them from telling the next group that they met and so on and so forth. So the news might have traveled faster than we ourselves have.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so we could be looking like a plump prize for somebody.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that would explain this. That seems...
Now I have to go make questions of the rest of the camp. This is going to have a very, what's the word I'm looking for? A very demoralizing turn of events.
Yeah, I'm afraid it isn't going to make our two halves get along better, which could end up being a problem if we do come under attack.
So yeah, I'll first question around the tent, see if anyone heard or saw anything.
Yeah, it was relatively close to where you were, and nobody mentions anything was seen around that tent that they saw anyways.
And then I'll question into Wentworth's side. Not the Yemenis, but
Right. Yeah, like white men and whatnot.
yeah.
Cooper.
Okay. So you can give me a hard psychology roll as you do this, Mr. Stanton.
Yeah, mine's non-existent. Here we...
But Brandon's been killing it, so
Yeah.
you never know. Could get close enough to pour some luck in.
Success, but it's not hard.
Oh, it's only at the regular.
What is that, 4?
4, yeah.
I'll spend it.
Yeah.
Let me, wait a sec. Do I still get a check if I spend... It was a success anyway, but... Well, not a success.
You don't get a check if you
Okay.
use luck to make it what you need.
All right.
All right, so you're going down the line. Are you standing close to this as he goes over your group, or are you count on to do something else?
I would expect him to.
No, I'll
Yeah.
be there. Yeah.
Um,
I want to keep an eye out myself to see
Okay.
if anybody's giving anything away.
Right.
and that's, like...
It could be intimidating, so.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, like Stanton would expect him to be there while I inspect his
Yeah.
men. He'd probably... It'd probably hurt Stanton's view of Wentworth if he wasn't, right? You just don't get to go into someone else's
Right.
men and abuse them or accuse them.
So going down the list, you're asking people like Dr. Francis Morgan and Curtis Cooper, who both look weary at the question, but they say, we didn't see anything. Obviously, we didn't do it. You're hoping that your hard psychology reveals that Whiteman was in some way responsible. But he says, no, if I were going to do something like that, Mr. Stanton, I would cut the head clean off the snake. It seemed like I'd just be stirring up a hornet's nest to go and kill one of your underlings. Doesn't make much sense to me to kill an underling of an underling, don't you think, Mr. Stanton?
I agree 100%, Mr. Whiteman. Yeah, another time and another life. I think we would have been fast friends.
And Mitchell Brown, one of the geologists, and the other geologist are both like, we don't know. And Mitchell Brown has that look of he was probably at his passed out stage if somebody gave him access to whiskey the night before, barely alive at the moment. Nigel just, he's like, no. And as near as you can tell, that's seems correct, which then you turn to Wentworth and Thompson and you look at them and you can make your own judgment about whether or not they would have had anything to do it. But you see that Mr. Arbogast, who had been, kind of his heel this whole time, is just, there's sort of a smirk on his face that you don't like given the situation. And he just says, no, sir, of course not. I was with Mr. Wentworth the entire night. Why would I do anything like that?
This is where I'd roll my gun skill just to get the cut of his jib.
Well, you already don't like him because he doesn't like using guns.
Yeah, that's right.
And he has the rifle you guys have given him.
Yeah.
And he still holds it, even though you've demonstrated it over and over again, he still has, it's still awkward in his hands. He's holding it correctly, but it still doesn't look like
Yeah.
it belongs there.
Of course. What's the word you Englishmen use? Pomp or whatever? It's, I'm trying to think of a word, basically calling him a fruit.
Right.
Like you probably wouldn't have the gall to do it. I can see it in your eyes, coward through and through. Of course you wouldn't.
Well, no, sir. That's why I find myself as a simple serving man.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing more. But
I'll remember that
you can
smirk.
do spot hidden, though, as well.
Okay.
This is something that Wentworth's more aware of because he's, talked with him quite a bit. But we'll see what you come up with.
Extreme.
Dang. Getting it. Well, so he's wearing this now yellowed, dress shirt. The bow tie type thing he would normally have has been removed. His jacket's long since packed away. And he has a wrap over his head. But you can see there's scars on his face, scars on his hands. Something that speaks to a past that's not just that of a serving man. Now there's a lot of ways that could come from, but, there is something beneath the surface that indicates he's more than just somebody who's acted as part of the house employees for some lord or lady.
Right.
Yeah, so Stanton will take that
File
in
that away.
and that smirk And he's probably now on the similar list as Whiteman. Just a short list of any excuse.
And, part of what keyed you off there with yours is that he had just mentioned something like this the night before. So, anyhow.
But, I think the, sunken knuckles or all that stuff, Stanton, I think, recognizes pretty well because his men probably share a lot of that. Well, Stanton himself might even share some of that.
Well, you'd even have more of a clue at that extreme because you would see things like cauliflower ear, which are more than just scraps in a bar here and there or what you picked up in a war. That's constant and persistent sparring and what have you, right? So, anyhow, there you are. With no apparent obvious smoking gun, what will you do with the day? You're going to be stopped here? Brandon, you can hunt as you intended to, but only for that 1 hour at the extreme level. If you push it beyond that, you won't get the day's rest and lose the, the exhaustion level you're at.
Okay. Well, an hour sounds fine to me.
Okay.
Besides, we don't need the food, really.
Yeah.
We're good for now. Rest up. Yeah, Stanton will spend most of the day going over his maps.
As you move away, Stanton, Nigel Stedford comes in step with you, and he offers you a warning. He says, Mr. Stanton, the stretch of desert until Latakia was where I was captured by the Bedu on my first attempt to retrace Professor Ahmed steps to Irem. It's a feuding ground between the Bani Yam and the Sayar, which I understand you know as well, both of which have no love for us. The situation in recent days makes me feel our ability to repel such a thing is somewhat compromised. So I thought I would float this notion by you before I speak to Mr. Wentworth about it, but it might be in our interest to drill the Yemeni if you have enough spare rifles.
Do we?
Yeah, I think. Pretty much. You have 20 additional rifles, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. Do you think there's no way to barter through it? Just join one side and fight on through with them?
Well, that was years ago. Relations with us infidels may be different now, but I know the Sayar, at least, are renowned for their inability to be dealt with. And regardless, that's just my advice. I think we need to recalibrate ourselves. The goal is Irem, and the main threat is the desert, followed closely by the Bedu.
Well, I'll take into consideration your advice, Mr. Stedford.
Stedford, yeah.
Stedford. I think we have a bunch of problems coming up.
No doubt. Well, top of the morning to you. Cheerio. And
pip pip.
Yep.
But yeah, when I sit down, if my meeting gets held,
yeah, I think you probably do it anyways, because that way you can.
Yeah, Stedford brought up the fact that we should begin to drill the Yemeni with the spare rifles, due to the increase in aggression that we'll be coming upon in the next stretch of desert. I'm hesitant on this as I feel that most of them are probably more likely to shoot each other or us. And they don't have enough. If you were to give them a shake, you wouldn't hear a marble, or you'd only hear a marble rattle around in their skulls.
Well, I think he is right. We'll need as many rifles as we can get when the attacks start coming.
Yeah, you guys know from training new recruits in various capacities, whether they're to Stanton expeditions or your time in the military, or I guess your time as well, is that you have kind of a couple levels you can come in at. You can just drill them with the rifle and how to use it, but without expending ammo, and that will bump them 5% from the base 25, or you could expend some ammunition and get a higher increase based on the amount that you're expending, basically. But that one, you have hundreds of rounds, but, that only goes so far with target practice, so
yeah,
that's the kind of increase, the risk to reward thing you're looking at. But, 15 people shooting at 30% does significantly sway the odds than 15 at 25.
Mm-hmm. Well, at the very least, we could begin them on the common drills and then make a determination based on their success with that, if there are any that we need to, that it would be worthwhile to bump up to live fire practice.
I'm hesitant to go into live fire due to the fact that we're probably, well, I guess we're already known about. No reason not to, almost. But it is a bit of a waste.
Yeah, it is true.
Mr. Wentworth, would you be willing to put them through their paces without ammunition?
Yes.
Get them started. Excellent. Yeah. Spend your day doing that. I'll spend my day scowling at Mr. Whiteman.
I would have killed every one of you. As he goes into some sort of southern hillbilly mode. Anyhow.
Hills have eyes mode.
Now, Mr. Thompson, for your part, you also caught this suspicious reaction from Mr. Arbogast, who you interacted with briefly when he was compelled by Mr. Wentworth to aid you in your recovery when you were snake bit. Is there anything you wanted to do with that information, or will you leave it lie as Mr. Stanton and Mr. Wentworth have done so far?
As
Maybe
I
not
feel
leave it lie, but file it.
no need to accuse an innocent man.
Oh, you just have the opposite. If somebody's innocent, they're guilty. If they're guilty,
it's obvious that it was Arabs passing through the desert. The watch is lax. That's what it is.
All right, so with the help of Bandar Hadi and Bandar Al-Jadi, you corral up the Yemeni, some of which have done a little bit of soldiering, but more on the conscription level.
Mm-hmm.
So that's barely above taking the camel herder away from his camels and starting him out,
Yeah.
Mostly they have no skills left over from that time, and you begin drilling them on that, and it is, as it always is with new recruits, a very annoying process, and it takes a lot of patience.
Yeah.
To go through it, because they've never held rifles like this.
Well, what is it, like soldier stories from, Afghanistan when they're trying to teach, varying farmers or whatnot to kind of be like militiamen or whatever, where they just wander off. They don't quite understand that this is something that you need to worry about. They're like, nah, I got to worry about my camels.
Yeah, and a lot of them do have those sort of duties, and their minds are more turned to camels and stuff. But nevertheless, you put them through this hour of drilling or few hours of drilling after the day's lunch as it approaches nightfall. When there's a call from one of the scouts, or not the scouts, but your watches outside the encampment, that somebody is approaching from the east. The east.
Let's go take a look. Get
Indeed.
out the binoculars.
It looks like one solitary figure, an adult, you would say from this distance, dressed in the desert fashion, although not the so dark blue their black Bedu wraps and whatnot, but still with the head covering like an Arab in this area would dress. And you can tell from looking through the telescopes and binoculars that there's sort of a list to their gait as they're approaching.
Okay. I'll go out.
Yeah, I'll ride with them.
Make contact, and peace be upon you.
Thompson?
Yeah, I'll end up going as well.
Okay. So yeah, you stop, maybe 10 paces from him, and he hails you, peace be upon you as well. He looks weary, and he seems to be requesting food and water.
Okay. And I'll ask him if he's alone.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a hard psychology roll, the three of you.
Oh.
Thompson!
Is that supposed to be a hard?
Yeah.
Close.
Then, no.
Well, you have a gut suspicion of the man, but you can't parse out whether that's the fact that
what happens if I push it?
That you will be so convinced that he is something other than he says he is, that you will take... What would Thompson do? I'm trying to see. Failed push. Fail forward.
Could be open denouncement and suspicion.
Yeah.
don't let this outsider in type of thing.
Right. Yeah. You gonna go for it?
I think I'll let it lie for right now.
So yeah, basically, you guys can't tell a reasonable suspicion, your ability to look at somebody and tell if they're being truthful from the fact that anybody who comes from the outside could be either A, a Bedouin to get a look at the internal workings of your camp, or B, another serpent person coming out from the desert because maybe some got away, and if there's a wider network out there, maybe they now know of what had occurred here, and they're trying to re-infiltrate or something like that. So that's just the baseline thing, but none of what he's saying appears to lack. He seems genuine as far as you can tell.
Yeah, and you said he had a limp?
Like he was kind of like a way an exhausted person might walk, where their balance is compromised here and there. He does look exhausted.
Okay. Well,
fearful.
Yeah, but hospitality being as important as it is out here,
okay,
I think we should bring him back and give him some food and water. Let him rest.
All right.
Never know when the people he tells about that might feel grateful, depending on who else we encounter out there.
So yeah,
I'm not opposed to that, Mr. Wentworth, but he's not staying unless he says the words. We can kick him out before we go to bed.
Okay.
Unless he says them.
No, I agree to that.
And he does say them.
All right.
He's a little confused. Like you see some genuine confusing looks on his face, but then he'll repeat them to you. And he's mostly just silent and happy to receive the water and food that you spare for him. The water being free. But when you're back in camp with him, you can see Ray Flanagan, who's posted up in his machine gun nest there with Marco. Occasionally a Yemeni on their way to the well or something to re-water. He'll just shout out. He'll be like, Kanamakala Lajarama, right? Just like a call to them,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll just skirt away from him. And he's like, next time you don't say it, dugga, dugga, dugga. But he's having some fun with it, right? Of getting scared looks from these people.
Repeat after me.
Right.
Dugga, dugga.
Nikto. All right. So what news? I'll say to him, relishing the opportunity to say it to them first.
Yeah, so the story that he tells is that he was traveling from Al-Latakia, but his camel was snake bit and died. And so he's been on foot and without water for a day now, and without food for longer.
Mm.
And that's his story. He was hoping to reach this town before he died, basically.
Right.
And he asks you what happened to the people here.
Yeah, this is how we found it. Everyone has been taken, I assume.
Raids.
In raids. This and the next village. The wells were spiked, but luckily here we found some clean water.
So, Al-Latakia, at least a week ago, everything was well there.
How far away is that? That's the
100 miles, yeah.
Yeah, I think hopefully it's in better condition than these were. Have you run across anybody else out in the desert in your travels?
I have not seen anybody on the road in that stretch, not hide nor hair, but you guys already have failed these psychology rules, so
yeah,
you have to take it at face value. But of course, you're still trying to weigh it against everything,
Well, you got a gut feeling,
yeah,
and something's tingling there, but what it means.
And it's different, because you're looking at, he's a diminutive man by your standards, as many of the Arabs out here you have met have appeared to be, just like, because of nutritional problems, they just don't have enough food out here. They don't generally get that big. So you kind of tower over him, and he has a real genuine fear of every question that you pose his way, And so it's hard to figure out if those startles are because, you're this close to sussing out the secret truth that he's concealing from you, or he just doesn't know this huge corn-fed American speaking Arabic at him.
Right.
Is that he's actually a real thing. But yeah, he answers them in Spartan language, as few words as possible, basic information.
Okay. Well, I mean, if he has nothing to tell us about the road between here and
He doesn't seem like he wants to tarry here long as soon as he gets his water and stuff. He asks what of the next village?
Yeah, which is about 30 miles back west.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Same story there, and we weren't able to find clean water. The well's been inspected. We cleaned it out, but I don't know if enough time has passed, so...
Any chance you can spare a camel or a water skin? I have nothing to offer in return.
Do we?
Besides my gratitude.
This sounds like a bad bargain.
Don't make that deal, Mr. Wentworth.
No, I don't think we have. Camels or water skins to spare.
I'd say
Stanton
no.
go shoot Mr. Arbogast. Yes, we do now.
Yes, we do now.
It'd be white men before
Right.
Arbogast.
Well, we did find some like smaller scale water stuff here, right? Like
like personal
canteens or
care.
personal.
That, or he could be welcomed to travel with us back to Latakia, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an option for you if you'd like.
He says he has no desire to return in that direction.
Well, we can give you some water skins, but we can't spare a camel.
Well, he's thankful for it.
30 miles through the burning desert. I think I would have just asked for lead in the head.
Good luck. Yeah.
But yeah, he'll, after an hour's rest or whatever and refilling his water, he'll ask to leave, as I assume that it's not an easy proposition for him to just walk out on his own.
Right.
As you got Ray there the whole time you've been talking to him, keeping the vicar's gun just trained right on him.
Yeah.
Which makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, okay. Come on, Ray. I'm not giving you any more of my whiskey if you don't move that GD gun off of me.
Say it, Kanamaka.
So what do you think the chances are, Mr. Wentworth, that tonight we're raided?
You've been a scout, you think?
Quite possibly. I could be wrong as well.
Well, I think we should plan on you not being wrong, and I think we should expect that.
I think that's a good idea from this point forward anyway, but...
Yeah. I think we should have people in their fighting positions and ready to go.
Well, my men are as best as can be right now, as far as that goes. I don't want them working themselves too hard, otherwise the fatigue will sit in.
Yeah.
So they do need to work in shifts, no matter how much cocaine I give them.
By the time he leaves, you have like an hour of sunlight left on this day of rest. So is there anything you want to do, or do you just want to move on to the night? Oh, and I failed to mention that when you are looking through the telescope, you're able to pick out by looking at his notes and the stuff he's remarked about in his journal that you also have. You can pick out its position in the sky, and you remember him pointing out that comet that you can see, which you spot again, but you realize that when you look off the eyepiece just to look at the night sky, that it appears that it's drawn closer because you can make out the tail just with the naked eye. So,
okay. But yeah, there was something I wanted to do, which is confront Arbogast in private.
Oh, back in your tent?
Yeah, right. I don't want to air that out in front of everybody,
Okay.
but like I'm convinced that he has something to do with it for sure now, right? Like based on my read of him when I was first questioning people, and then Stanton.
Right.
Yeah, right. He knows something, so out with it. What the hell is going on, Arbogast? Did you kill that man?
Sir, how could you think that of me?
I mean it. I want the truth right now.
I offered at your direction.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
You're going to look me right in the face with the stars in the sky above and tell me you didn't do anything to that man.
Unless I saw a direct threat to you and your happy reunion with Lady Waverly, I would not do such a thing.
Did you see a direct threat to me in my happy reunion with Lady Waverly?
I see many
Yeah.
in the camp.
All right. So is your idea then if you kill everybody, I'll just have to turn around and go home? Because that's not going to work out.
Well, you could, like I said, you can never kill enough people to make it perfect. But of course I wouldn't have done anything. But you could still, there's sort of like this,
Wink.
Yeah. What do you know about it? What's going
gentleman
on?
would not speak so openly is sort of the implication on his face. There's like an embarrassed look, like he knocked over the coffee when you keep pressing the issue.
Arbogast, listen to me very carefully. I don't want you killing anybody. unless I tell you. Do you understand that?
Well, a good servant
You
is
agree?
there before his master calls.
Well, that's not the kind of master I am.
You know that. You do
You
the
make
same
that-
for Dr. Andrews.
I absolutely would not.
Sometimes they're busy with matters that draw their attention away and they can't see the snake at their back.
Arbogast, it's not my place to know better than my master, and it's not your place to know better than me.
Very well, sir. I will take it under advisement.
Okay? We've got a good thing going here, Arbogast.
You scratch
Yes.
my back, I scratch yours.
Don't jeopardize it.
I wouldn't think of it, sir.
Besides, Stanton, Mr. Wentworth is the safest with Stanton.
And Stanton, he's on to you. There's something about you he doesn't like. He's going to be watching you.
The thing I've noticed about Mr. Stanton is there's something about everybody that he doesn't like. Maybe you haven't seen his gaze on you, Mr. Wentworth,
No,
but
I have. But it tarries on you a little longer.
well, obviously it was not somebody local,
Hmm.
given the evidence.
Yeah, the evidence that was left there. Might as well have wrote down in the sand, Arbogast didn't do this.
This is the Yakuza.
Yeah.
Oh, for everyone listening, that was a inside joke that Brandon, from our Mech Warrior days,
Mm-hmm.
Brandon called up the mafia and said, "This is the Yakuza. You kill one of us, we kill one of yours."
Mm-hmm.
It
But that-
didn't work.
But that said, Mr. Wentworth, I can see you are quite right, and that's why you're leading this expedition. His handling of the situation was a surprise to me. Perhaps that's what you read in it. I was expecting more salted earth.
Well, as long as we understand each other.
Well,
Just wait till I lose some more sanity.
good night, or shall I fetch you a snack?
No, I don't need a snack. Let's get some sleep. We're going to be attacked tonight.
Okay. And so the night passes without event.
Excellent.
And you guys dawn to Wednesday, March 23rd, another sunny and clear day. Very warm, starting to push closer to the triple digits. And today is the day where you set off on your way to Al Latakia. So let's begin with the navigate roll, Mr. Stanton. Now fully rested with your bonus die.
Navigate. Bonus. Extreme.
So that's a 35-mile stretch. Everybody is well watered and fed at the moment. Oh. Suppose I can move you guys over here to the progress map.
Yeah, I've been having to fill in question marks every time
Sorry.
I think of a town name.
I totally forgot. So that's where you'll end by today, where it says March 23rd,
Excellent.
assuming nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Now, looking at your supplies, you're still sitting pretty good with about 10 to 12 days of food left and a full complement of water. So that's no problem. But after the midway point of travel, the Bandars come from their rear scouting position, Mr. Wentworth, and they alert you to the presence of a large group of Bedouin that seem to be tracing the trail that this caravan's leaving.
Okay. All right. I'll go check it out, but let Stanton know up front that we've got a large group coming.
Okay.
I'll try to get a count, see what kind of distance we've got.
Yeah.
Also, if they're just scouting or prepping for a night raid, or if they're actually looking to be hostile, like
Yeah.
actively.
So this bit of land you're on kind of looks from an overhead angle, like just wrinkled dunes. They're pretty low, so you're just going up and down, up and down. You guys will skirt sort of in the northeasterly direction for a little while because it's faster until you have to correct as you're traveling. But you're mostly traveling east at this point. And so on the western edge of the map would be the direction that the Bandars claim there is a group of Bedouin. So when you ride back to look at them at your maximum distance, which is about between 2 to 3 miles, there's sort of a dark, indiscernible smudge on the horizon with dust kicking up behind them. And looking through your binoculars, you can really only confirm that, yeah, it does appear to be Bedouin on camels, hot on your tail. And you've already become aware that relative to your caravan that they travel a bit faster. They're more experienced on camelback.
Yeah.
And they don't have as many moving parts, basically. But you can get let's see here. Let's do, for those that are looking, can do a hard spot hidden. You get stuff on the regular success, too. It's just
Not as detailed.
maximum information.
Did you say a spot hidden?
Yeah,
Hard.
hard is what you ideally want. But a regular success will get you a count.
No luck. Can't see anything.
Okay, so it's too distant at this stage to pick out how many individuals there are, but it does look like a bigger group than the ones you had been tracing or tracking in days past.
Mm-hmm.
Bust out
You
your
say over a
telescope.
dozen.
Okay.
And it's just a matter of time if you want to wait for them to draw closer enough to pick out. You can count 20 if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as you can tell, you can see the passage of your expedition dwindle out of sight along these dunes. You know, it kind of goes up and then it will disappear in the crevice between two dunes, and you'll see it again. So they have that whole passage of yours that they just seem to be moving along towards you guys.
Okay.
So what do you want to do with that information?
Yeah, well, there's 20 of them. It's and they're gonna catch us because they're better on camels. So I'll return to the group and report what I've found. I mean, obviously, I can't. They could just be traveling the same path we are, but there's 20 of them. We can't outrun them. So I think we should look around for a good place to make a stand.
I agree. What? Spend like a couple miles to try to find a decent location?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe something a bit flatter if there is any of that around, so they don't really
you can
have
see
advantage.
the beginnings of a stretch of salt flat to the south that you could probably make it to before they would catch up with you, given their range. You know, they're in miles. They're like 3,000 yards away or something like that if it converted to yardage. So you could probably make it down to that salt flat if you want to.
Yeah, we'll go there.
And that is what direction?
To the south.
Right. So then we're certain, because if they're just going the same way we are, then they'll just go right on by. But if they turn towards us, then we know they're hostile.
Well, all of these folk out here seem to be a bunch of gossiping hens. They'll stop no matter what to ask. Peace be upon you.
Yeah,
all that.
I guess we'll see if they ask with lead or.
Yeah, so you guys, are you going to have Ray break out the machine gun
Yeah, we'll
for
do
safety purposes?
We'll do a slight,
Yeah.
not a full like camp
Well, you don't.
setup, but
Yeah, usually what you can do as far as being defensive is either find land features or you just couch the camels and hope that they don't kill too many camels firing at you. But the camel will probably be enough if you're ducked behind it for.
Well, yeah, if we got time, I'll take my spade and I'll
Start digging a hole.
dig myself a little fox.
Yeah, give me a strength check. We'll see how you do on it.
that's not a bad idea. Actually,
All your men would probably do the same.
Yeah, that was something I was meaning to ask, was like kind of like police tactics or whatnot. Does Roy get to use his machine gun skill to find the quote unquote best area?
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff he can do with it, like indirect fire, where given enough distance he can shoot at somebody that spots. So yeah, so anyhow, a difficult thing to do, but he can do it with a spotter. Anyhow, yeah, he can find a good spot that will give him a strategic advantage here. Let me roll his. Let's see here. For some reason, I have Dr. Edward Call. He almost got dragged out into the middle of this desert.
I went to sleep.
I dare say.
It's a lot more exciting than retirement with the wife, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, isn't his wife dead?
Yeah.
I wish it was retirement with the wife.
Ever since my wife died, I find myself getting in gunfights.
I've become quite acquainted with the taste of cosmoline as well. From hours just contemplating the meaning of life.
Let's see how he does here.
Oh,
He's facing the wrong way.
Flanagan.
He's like, oh, they're coming in airplanes, huh? Well, watch this.
He got too drunk. He's
Maybe the high. So what I'll say here
barrel's gonna come off.
is probably because they have to assemble it, and he grabbed stuff in a hurry. is that he just forgot something that will take a few rounds for him to get it going. Of course, you're not necessarily aware of that. I will give you, because you in a leadership role are in this space where you go and check on everybody when you're preparing for something, so we can give you a spot hidden at the hard level, or if you have the machine gun skill, you could use that at normal to notice something's amiss.
I think machine guns are for pansies.
And Irish.
Yeah, hit what you're aiming at. You only need 1 or 2 bullets for that.
But you might be able to catch his mistake.
Nope.
Okay.
I'm more focused on the direction that the Bedouin are coming from.
But sure enough, you see them begin to move themselves in your direction. The trajectory of their travel, changes, and they are for sure coming at you. So what's your rules of their approach here?
Oh, my men would have orders not to fire unless fired upon first. Okay. Basic, like, military stuff. Like, we're not quite sure if they're hostile yet. And once they prove that they are, then it'll just be open season on all Bedouin.
Right.
Yeah.
Brandon, you got any rules of engagement you'd want to add?
Yeah, well, I would tell the same to, like, the people on my side that we don't fire until fired upon. And
so you do have scouts out currently that were doing their job, which would kind of be, like, out of the equation in this moment, because they were previously you were kind of had them on your flanks and far ahead. So we'll say Nigel and a couple of the Stanton men are currently out doing their scouting thing.
Okay.
They might see what is happening, but they would have to travel back, and that will take a little bit of time. So, yeah, they get to within, say, 300 yards of you, this group, and you can see there's like 20 of them. You're looking at them closer, and you hear the cracks of rifles, well, the bullet passage.
Yeah.
okay.
On your encampment.
Oh, yeah. Open fire.
Yeah.
So that we'll start with Charles Stanton there. You're sitting behind a couched camel, or maybe dug in at this
probably
point?
dug in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you failed the strength. Yeah, so it gives you, if you're lying flat in it, like actively taking cover, it's enough to help you avoid incoming fire. But
was it a strength check to dig in?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, to get like a good enough one.
I failed mine.
Let me give that to you then.
Because we're at the salt flats, the ground's harder. So.
Yeah, fail. So it's not that good.
All
It's
right.
better than nothing.
Like I said, it's enough of a hole that if you lay flat in and do nothing for that round, you can basically avoid direct fire your way.
Okay.
But yeah, you hear just a couple of shots ring out from this Bedouin group, and you give your command. What do you want to do yourself, Mr. Stanton?
They are coming our way. We're hearing that
Yeah, definitely. You heard the shots pass into your camp. Let me see if any of these guys are lucky enough
Okay, so you're actually rolling, like, to see if it's hits.
to hit out, to
Okay.
hit anybody in your camp.
Yeah, I'll, sounds like an invitation to me, Mr. Wentworth. And I'll look for someone.
Okay.
Maybe one of the people that shot, or maybe someone who appears to be a leader, and I'll take a shot at him.
And you have Francesco there, who has either your
He'd have my elephant rifle.
ready to hand to you.
Probably not the elephant rifle, but he would have, like, what is it? Is it stripper clips for the
Yeah.
306? Yeah, he'd have extra stripper clips that he could pass to me if need be.
And if I'm not mistaken, you had, what do you call it? A scope on yours as well.
Do I?
I thought you had it on your 30-06, but not your elephant rifle.
Yeah, not the elephant rifle. You just probably black an eye if you weren't
Right.
careful. I can't really see where I'd see that, though.
Or is that how he would do it? I don't
Yeah.
know yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically for ranges, let me get them at the... They fired at kind of their maximum range, so let's see. Here's your party.
So it'd be at 220 yards for normal.
So we'll go... They started firing at about 330 yards away.
So hard?
So hard for you, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hard success. 9
All right.
damage. Doesn't even have kick to it. What a weak little round.
Okay, so you see a figure topple from one of the camels, one of these Bedouin figures, and that moves it on to Ray Flanagan, who starts cussing up a storm. And you see Marco jump out of their little defensive position and start running to where some of the camels are clustered around to grab something, right? Because you don't hear that. You don't hear that
Damn
from that
Irishman.
Vickers like you were hoping you would hear right away.
Making me look bad.
All right, Mr. Wentworth.
I'll take aim to give myself a bonus die on my next.
On the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll have, Arbogast will be next to me, and I'll be telling him to do the same.
Yeah.
Because this is probably his first long-range gun battle, so...
Did you guys want to give, like, the Bandars some ammunition to distribute if the need arises?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They just need to be taught gun safety and proper handling before.
So they had that day in so far, so you can get a lot done in the day, but whether they're going to hit anything is a total...
Yeah, so what I would have focused on would have been, like, the working of it and some bayonet exercises.
Okay. So yeah, they're out giving those stripper clips to all these guys for the guns that they have. And, you can see them still sort of uncertainly getting them all prepped up to fire.
Yeah.
And they have the beginner's lack of... they're frightened, but they're not really, like, staying fully behind their camels and stuff. Like, they're kind of, like,
standing up
their guns to get it correct. But so far, there's not a lot of fire coming off of this Bedouin group. It was those first 2 shots. But yeah, you'll take aim, and that brings us to you, Mr. Thompson.
Why doesn't he have a Thompson machine gun?
I don't know. He should.
All the guns he picks up become Thompsons.
And I believe yours was scoped as well, so a shot from here would be at the hard level unless you're gonna take aim for a round.
Yeah, I'll take aim at it.
Okay, and then for most of you hear a sound. You can't quite determine its origin at this point. That sends a chill up your spine. Thunk.
Oh, no.
Oh, artillery or mortars, huh?
And it explodes away from anything in the middle of the camp, just like a big blast, and shocks all of you. And that is where we'll have to end for the night.
Boo. Who are you, Brandon?
Nice.
Well, thanks for playing, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
buddy.
Let me see. Luck. Ooh.
Congrats.
3. Almost made back what I spent.
This has been a Deathwatch production. Thank you for listening.